Welcome back to Mayo Clinic Radio. I'm Dr. Tom Shives.
And I'm Tracy McRae.
You know, when it comes to making healthy lifestyle choices, Jeff Olsen has always tried to do the right thing. But sometimes life got in the way, as with most of us. Now, Jeff is a husband and a father of 4, working 2 jobs. And for him, it was easy to let his busy lifestyle get in the way of his own well-being.
But after taking a job as a reporter for the Mayo Clinic Minute, Jeff found helpful tips and inspiration from the physicians that he interviewed. Those interviews led Jeff to make small changes, which have ultimately made a big difference. Here to share his story is our Mayo Clinic News Network colleague, Jeff Olsen. Welcome to the program, Jeff.
It is great to be here.
Thank you. It's nice to see you. You know what's encouraging about this whole thing is that Mayo Clinic puts out a lot of information, but it's good to know that someone actually takes it to heart and acts on it.
The guy who's putting out the information.
Yeah,
That's
fabulous.
great.
Yeah, in little bite-sized pieces, we really make these 1 minute, these Mayo Clinic minutes, and we cover all the bases. And for me, after a while, I started to catch it on the whisper and do these things.
You paid attention.
Yeah, and it added up to 15 pounds this year.
15 pounds total?
Yeah.
In 1 year. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about some of those choices. You have listed 4 of them. We'll probably figure out some more before we're done here. First of all, did you listen to anything that Dr. Shives has said?
Oh, let's see.
And you
Haven't
must have did
interviewed
all
him
your
yet.
stuff.
The right answer is everything.
Yeah.
All right, so give us who did you talk to that helped?
Well, let me say, it is such a privilege to talk to the doctors and the staff here. They're so smart and gracious with their time. And we, like I said, we cover all the bases. A lot of it has to do with your diet. And really, one of the best pieces of advice I could offer you is get the new edition of the Mayo Clinic Diet. I just did a story on edition number 2 that's here just in time for resolution season. And if you want to take off some weight and then learn to live a healthier life, that's your book, because there are the 2 phases of the diet. Lose it and live it. And within that, 100, probably 1,000 different stories. And one that pops to mind that we did last year at this time was with dietitian Kate Zeratsky.
Okay.
And she
We know
said,
Kate.
she said, do the sugar challenge. Just for 2 weeks, try to eliminate sugar and artificial sweeteners from your diet.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
And you lived through it.
I did. And you know what it does is you get less sugar, but you also realize where it is in your diet. You think, you know what? I can have a cup of coffee with skim milk without having something stirred in there, that shot of whatever, or the whipped cream on top of it. And it also resets your palate, too. Natural sweetness is there in fruits and vegetables. So I thought that was fantastic.
Okay, so you did that for 2 weeks, and then have you continued, or have you just then limited the amount of sugar that you eat?
Yeah, take it out where you can live without it. I have sugar, not as much as I had last year at this time, because I think one of the threads that runs through all of these stories is mindfulness.
Sure.
And when you do that sugar challenge, you become mindful of, oh, there's some sugar. One thing I do is I read labels now. Kate says, read the labels. Sugar has 5 letters. So try to eliminate sugar in the first 5 ingredients on the label. We had what we thought was a cool trail mix bar for our family. Darn thing had evaporated cane sugar as the second ingredient. So there's a different option out there with sugar being further down the list, maybe not there at all.
You said mindfulness, which of course makes everyone, I would imagine, think of Dr. Sood. What did you learn from Dr. Sood?
I am a huge fan. Do it right now. Get out your phone, go to Twitter, and follow at Amit Sood MD. And it is about mindfulness.
Right.
It is about being where your feet are and being kind to yourself. One of the tweets that he's been doing a tweet a day for a whole year. One of the tweets that comes to mind is look at yourself through the eyes of your pet. Think about your dog when you come home. They're excited to see you, and they're happy you're there.
Just like your spouse, right?
Sure, absolutely.
Or he says, we wear a lot of hats during the day. You're a broadcaster, you're a mom, you're a sister. Figure out which one that you were best at today. Hang your hat there, instead of what we tend to do, which is, I had a bad day at work.
Right. Make the list of bad.
Yeah, I'm a bad reporter today. Instead of thinking, wow, I was a great dad today.
And
So that word mindfulness, explain, how do you interpret that?
For me, there's a monologue that can get chugging in my brain, and it tends to be a negative monologue. And when you become mindful, first of all, you just kind of stop. You kind of put a halt to everything and and be where you are. Maybe count the blessings right in front of you that you would tend to overlook. On a day like today, we're taping on a day when it probably won't reach 0 here in Rochester.
It's so cold.
I'm thankful.
Oh, no, it's nice out.
It is nice.
I was
nice and cold.
You took the words out of my mouth. I'm thankful for the sunshine. Right. That does make it easier. If it was this temperature and cloudy, it wouldn't be as fun. So it's. I think it's just recognizing the good, and then going back to that idea that you are trying and you are succeeding. Look for the successes and build on those rather than recount the failures.
All right. You said, again, to reiterate, you have lost 15 pounds through these things that you've done. And the very first thing that you had on your list, we skipped right over, and that's from Dr. Karen Grothe, who has also been on this program.
Sure, we know them all.
Food diaries.
So important.
And you actually did a food diary.
Yes. And again, I'm not still doing a food diary. Some people will find that they're going to want to do it for the rest of their lives. I did it for a couple of weeks, and doctor said, do it. And again, it's uncovering things that are happening that you're not aware of. And for me, it was 2 things. Number one is snacking and late night calories. So we have a fairly healthy cupboard of snacks. It's nuts, it's trail bars, as I mentioned, but I went to those nuts a lot more than I thought. A handful here, a handful there. And over the course of a day, if you have 4 handfuls, that's a whole cup of nuts. That's too much for me. And I also noticed that I tend to, if I'm going to have too many calories, if I'm going to fall off the bandwagon, it's while I'm in my pajamas. And so,
toward the end of the day.
So if I'm just aware of the snack cupboard, when I open it, I think, okay, Jeff, you're eating something now. You're going to remember this. Yep. Or at night, I just don't go there. And so if you do that for a couple of weeks, you're going to find the same trends or different trends, but you're going to be able to identify your pitfalls. And that started me on this path to, for me, it was just shaving a little bit here and there. We did another story, another Mayo Clinic Minute with Kate Zaratsky, and she said, just go through your regular life, but take a little off of everything. And for me, in the morning, that was 1 tablespoon of peanut butter instead of 2. Or when I make eggs and toast, I just automatically put 2 eggs in the pan. Well, guess what?
2 pieces of toast.
Your old friend Jeff can get by with 1 egg and 1 piece of toast. So
you're not a farmer. You don't need to have that big farm breakfast.
Cutting in half the calories and still having eggs and toast, which I enjoy.
All right, to finish up, let's talk about the standing desk. Moving around from Dr. Levine.
Yeah, boy, is he awesome.
And you have a standing desk now?
I do. I have a desk that I made. And I should say this, if you're going to do it yourself, make sure that you're ergonomically correct. I see a lot of people who make a standing desk, but then they're way away from their screen or their microphone. Yeah. So, if you can buy one, and that's the best case scenario, but if you're going to make one, get on to the Mayo Clinic News Network and see our story. But yeah, all of a sudden, that afternoon lull, that was gone because I was standing, and it burns a little bit of a few extra calories, not a lot, but it gets you moving around. And I just find that at the end of the day, I have more energy and I feel better. If I end up sitting for 8 straight hours now, I get squirrely and then I get sore too. So,
well, you've really changed, haven't you? So tell us how you were lucky to end up at the Mayo Clinic. What'd you do before?
Well, I've been a reporter. I've been on television and radio my whole life.
We don't have time for this whole story.
And, I've anchored newscasts. I've done long-form news reports. And some of my colleagues who I'd worked with before ended up here and had great things to say. So when a job came open, I jumped at the chance to tell these stories. I love that whatever I'm telling, that story is going to help someone. It's important information.
And it ended up helping you.
15 pounds lighter.
Yeah, it's great to know that some people take the information that we put out to heart and it actually does them so good and they're healthier because of it.
Healthier and happier, too.
Oh, happier. Jeff Olsen, Mayo Clinic News Network reporter, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, guys.